Today's topic is how to find the resultant force. So let's start by drawing a reference point here, which is the point O. And there is a force acting on this point in this direction, which we will call F1. There is another force acting on this point, which is F2, pointing in this direction. So how do we find the resultant force, which will be something like this? Basically, how we go about solving this kind of problems is calculating the summation of the horizontal forces and the summation of the vertical forces. So now let's consider that the XY plane is here. This is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. So now, how do we find the horizontal component for this force? It is actually the magnitude of this force multiplied by the cosine of this angle right here, which is theta. So the summation of fx will be f1 multiplied by the cosine of the angle theta, plus, as we can see, the F2 force lies on top of the x-axis, so there is no angle between the force and the x-axis. So we're just going to assume that F2 multiplied by cosine 0, the angle 0, because there is no angle between the force F2 and the x-axis. So this will simplify to F1 cosine theta plus F2, because we know that cosine 0 is 1. Okay, now how do we find the summation of the vertical forces right here in the y-axis direction? The same concept as before, but this time we're gonna have to take the vertical component of this force right here, which is going to be F1 multiplied by sine theta plus, what is the y component for this force right here? We can see that this force has no vertical component pointing in the y direction. So we can either straight up just say plus 0, and the answer is F1 sine theta. From where did we get this 0? We got it from F2 multiplied by sine the angle between F2 and the x-axis, which is 0. And we all know that sine 0 is 0. So this will be 0. So now we have two components for the resultant force. One component is in the vertical direction, in the y direction, and the other one is in the horizontal direction, which is F1 cosine theta plus F2. Now we assume that forces that are acting to the right are positive, and forces acting upwards is positive. So the resultant force will be something like this. Now we can see that this has become a right triangle. So to calculate FR, we just use the Pythagorean theorem.